Hey folks, welcome to the Nashville Drone Co podcast. We are based here in Nashville, Tennessee, and as you can see, it's a beautiful day here today. It's February 3rd, the middle of winter, 73 degrees. Unreal. That's why we're outside, so you may see a bird fly in front of the camera, or you may see the wind blow a little bit or hear something rattle, but I could not resist being outside. But anyway, first of all, I want to welcome you here. Thanks for showing up. If you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button. I'll tell you what we're going to share with you. We listen to hundreds of drone podcasts and drone YouTube channels and how-tos. And we've learned a lot from a lot of folks out there. The information is just fabulous that people offer out there. But every now and then we run into a gap where there's something that we can't find an answer to. And so when we run across those gaps, we're going to share what we learned from experience. So today we're going to learn about high rises. This will be the first one that we do. We did a search and found very little on high rises, flying from the rooftops of high rises. So we want to share with you what we learned. I did a deep search, found nothing. I put messages up in forums. I asked people, and most people just hadn't done it. I'm sure there are others that were doing it, but so I had to kind of go trial and error here. And so I took a job for a high-rise developer in Nashville. He wanted me to fly 700 feet. And my first reaction was, I can't fly that high. The FAA limits me to 400. Then I remembered I can fly above an existing structure an additional 400 feet within a 400 radius. So I said, yes, we'll do it. And so we took on the job and set forth on the big adventure. Day one, they wanted both day photos and night photos. So I went out there in the afternoon, and my first intention was to launch from sidewalk level. Where they were building the building, they also owned the building, the high-rise next, right, that butts right up against the property. So I was also going to grab some pictures of that property also. So we took off from the sidewalk level. First obstacle, very weak GPS. It's flying a Mavic 3 Pro and surrounded by buildings, and the GPS was just super weak, which makes me super nervous. But I did notice that once I was able to get up to 200 or 300 feet, the signal locked in. So I was able to pull off the day photos, taking off from sidewalk level. And then when it came time for the night photos, there was no GPS. I mean, absolutely nothing. And I knew I had to do the job, so I decided to try something. I took the drone up about 40 feet and out over the site about 40 feet and just let it sit there to see what would happen. And you can guess what happened. The drone starts drifting. So I was extremely nervous because my back was to a very busy downtown city with traffic and surrounded by buildings, and I knew this was just not a healthy environment for me to be flying in. So I landed the drone safely. I was somewhat flying in attitude mode to get it back on the ground. And I had a little postage stamp area to land it in because there was construction all around. But we got the drone landed, and then I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to take off from a rooftop if the signal's better there. So we went up to the rooftop, checked the signal. The signal was absolutely awesome on the rooftop. So I decided, okay, the night shots, we're gonna launch from the rooftop. It was a little windy that night. We had 30-mile-per-hour gusts. So I chose to abort the mission that night and come back the following evening when the wind was predicted to be a little better. So we grabbed some footage of the actual flight from the rooftop, and we're gonna go to that, and I hope this helps you. It helps you learn something. If you guys have experience of flying from rooftops, man, would love to hear your experience. And then also your experience of flying with weak GPS in downtown areas. So that's just something that I think we should all share with each other, because we're all going to encounter that if we're flying in downtown areas sooner or later. So it's just so great to learn from each other. So anyway, we're going to move on and hit the big adventure. Tonight, we're going to do a little bit of high rising with a drone. We're flying the Mavic 3 Pro this evening, and we are here at the Alcove building here in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a beautiful January evening. Nice 8 to 10 mile per hour winds. It's about 50 degrees, which is pretty perfect for January. We are going to go fly this building, and you know the FAA regulations say that we have a ceiling of 400 feet. This building sits at about 415, and we're filming this building so we can go an additional 400 feet. So I think we're going to go an additional 330 tonight. We're going to get some views of the city and the building, and we're going to take you guys along and show you how to do it safely. 34th floor, pool deck. As you can see, we got lots of scaffolding and construction, a lot of stuff going up on this rooftop here. So it's going to make landing and takeoff a bit of a challenge, but we picked a little spot over here near the pool. That's going to be our spot. Now, so this is where we're about to send the drone out to the beautiful night sky of Nashville. We've gone through our pre-flight kind of checklist. We checked the drones, all the props are secure, no cracks in the body, everything's feeling good there. Now we're going to go check our apps here. We're going to air control. Make sure, I know we're in good airspace, but always like to check, just to double check. We are good. I always take a screenshot, just so I have that, if anything happen. We know we're in good airspace. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is go to UAV forecast. I use that app a lot just to double check the weather. Our UAV forecast right now is telling us that it's 53 degrees in January, which is pretty awesome. Our KP index, we're at 1.33, so we're good there. Anything less than 5 is usually pretty good. And we got 8 mile per hour winds with 12 mile per hour gusts. So we were out here the other day, we had 30 mile per hour gusts. So I'll take the 12 mile per hour gust for sure. So anyway, now we're gonna get the drone all cranked up and check to make sure everything's working correctly, and then we'll move on to getting launched. Strobe, it's visible for 3 visible miles, and we're ready to go. Take off here. An airplane right there, flying over. Video. Still going. Success. Woo! As we wrap up here, I want to share just a few key takeaways that I got from flying from a rooftop that might help you. First of all, it's not as scary as I initially thought it would be. My initial thought was, oh gosh, what happens when you take off from a roof? Even as much as what happens to the altitude. You know, you're on the roof, your altitude's 20 feet, you fly off the roof, what happens? And the altitude stays the same as if it would if you were flying over the roof. So there's one key takeaway. If you fly below the roof, you're in negative altitude, which can be a little unnerving your first time. Another thing that I learned was take a visual observer. On the daytime flight, I did not have a VO, and I was surrounded by high-rises. I could only see a small square above me, and as you're flying in above 400 feet, and you start getting into the 700-foot range, you are entering the zone of helicopters in Nashville anyway. There's a lot of helicopter traffic and small aircraft, and it was just really super nerve-wracking. You'd hear the helicopters coming, I'd have to take a dip and wait. So when I went back to the night shots, I took a visual observer and a person that I could really trust, somebody who had been out on jobs with me before as a VO. And the cool thing was, when taking off from the rooftop, we had a 360 view, so we could see any helicopters or small aircraft coming from quite a distance away. So that took a lot of the stress off. It also gives you courage. When you have a visual observer out there, you have somebody to talk to. You're not alone on the rooftop of a building wondering what's going to happen when your drone flies over the edge. So I would recommend that. Secondly, don't be afraid to abort the mission. If it's a windy night or if conditions aren't ideal, abort. Find a good night and go back. If someone's hired you to do this, they should understand, because I think they want you doing a safe flight also. Another thing that I learned was it was much easier taking off from the rooftop than it was on sidewalk level, because it's already 400 feet up in the air. So, the distance, I think I flew another 320 feet or so above the building. And it wasn't like going up 700 feet. If you've never flown 700 feet, it was pretty scary the first time, I'll admit. But now, nothing scares me. It's funny, I've been driving around town. I see what used to seem like a tall structure, and they look like matchbox houses to me now. So once you've flown that high, it kind of takes the edge off of a 400-foot building. But most of all I learned is just to be safe. Make sure you do the pre-checklist and that you're checking everything twice. And I actually checked things probably 3 or 4 times before I actually took that drone off. And it just felt good knowing that I had done everything that I could to make the flight safe. So if something happened, I had done my best. But we had a successful flight. I'm encouraged, and now I want to fly more high-rises. If you get an opportunity to fly from a rooftop, I say go for it. Even if it's just for getting the experience, because it's a wonderful experience. And when you land that drone back on the rooftop, it is such an amazing feeling. I felt like I had climbed Mount Everest and returned. Anyway, so thanks for listening, and I hope you guys subscribe if you want to hear some more things that we find there are gaps out there as far as information on flying drones and experiences. We'll be sharing that. We would love to have you here, and we thank you for watching this video also. The equipment and the gear that we were using on this, I'll have links to all that in the description. Primarily it was the Mavic 3 Pro drone, but I'll put links to the landing pads, controller covers and straps and mics and backpacks and everything that we had on the job. I'll share those links in the comments below. But I'd love to hear from you guys. If you go fly high-rise, or if you have experience with it, we'd love to hear what your experience was like. If you have any questions, put those down there also. If I can answer them, I will. Thanks, and I hope you have some happy drone flights this winter.